Abusuafo Ghana for nam hote say. Oba ade no nye den. Enhira wo bia abusuafo mechie wo bia. Ene eja mese momra na before na mechie obi a menua John Kobe na mechie Shaman Media mechie ne wadwuma pa aya ma mento nka Sunday we say me wo fie ma ye ni nkomo before mechie obi a menua Kosua Favor mechie ade Adam Sabu mechie a fearful surprise na ho te say abusuafo mechie obi a waba so obibini kachire ze kachire o kachire mechie abusuafo na mechie obi a mechie obi bia waba so obi ntiase obi comment say o sorry a o si obibini na enokura no Kristo ni eye na de wontiase say me kaso obibini before we are before bibirim so what you say ye nanam enya Africa no ye free ye nanam ho but still no omo asesan niema enti obia wo kwan na o ye de wo fa so frɛ ni nkrofo ohun ne ho ye fra bibire mu ye bibifo abibiman enti obibini o Kristo ni meka se adie na dwene mu no ye Kristo o ye adie Kristofo no mo dwene mu no mo ye white but omo honam ye tuntum ti omo ye confused enti obibini meka se obibini a kire se me ne o abibifo menwe freedom mechia obi abibifo na me ba ya me say we had to deal with our own devil. Adie bia nipa bi owo obram bia no onya eyewa opposite your opposite no eyewo opposite kwanya right word ni duplicate or something atinsa o duplicate this any say nipa no before we had to deal with our own level devil problem bia yeshia bia no before we yadwenem so what you say sometimes we betima plant something we wadwenem na wunim so what you say so what plant afa ba na eyo mama obibini dwene enhyira depa nko na adepa eba so what you say na sa word we no obibini mi afa mi kan bi eniema bi mfnama boni bi bonansen ewo me bire mo afa de nura me wadwuma mo afa de me say wuni obibini so what you say mo ma sa de we enya terms ebo a me nura obibini se ehu ba fasire ye den ehia ehu so what you say na ensohwe no so ba fa wonsa so nsohwe no mu na bisa nsohwe ni say edie na ade breme edie changes na ade breme wo me life mu edie nyansa be na ade breme edie na ahinta niema be na ahinta wo me life mu apese obi so obibini moma yenhu ni say ye nyame right ye nyame etu any problem be e we life na ju hu ni so obetima ye na be so ampa life you full of edie problems na you deal with enu na ma ohonhom wadwene nyini so what you say before entino we had to deal with our own devils idea bi e wo ye bra mu bia na before eyeyenya na answer na no moma yentie saa papa we me penasem moma yentie ni kakra ne na adie ne nkyerechire mu a ode ma bible ne yewi a matoa masem so before ene ebeyire say me bani ha enti no pese me ba mu batimi enti na tin se me boni saa come on
together with oppression to the African people. These three religions, which is Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, all of them have a single source, which they want to call an Abraham source. And through this Abraham source, we begin to now have the literatures that are coming out of that, mainly becoming the Torah and the Quran and the Bible. The translations and transliterations of these books could be a subject of another day. But the interpretation of these books becomes of fundamental importance, because depending on who is reading the text, then they will insert in the text the information that they want to insert to drive a certain agenda towards that which they want to achieve in the conversation. It is not a secret that we can all admit, therefore, that using the same biblical text, the African child, the Alkebulan child, found themselves subjected to theological misinterpretations. I can't even call them interpretations, which have distorted the history of the African and put the European Caucasian history at the center of the African spirituality, so that the African feels he is a subservient to a text that is meant to be relating his own history. Follow me very carefully. If we say, therefore, according to the European theology, that Noah had 3 sons, I'll start there, because that speaks to history, that speaks to identity. If we go back to the Christian space and the Islamic space, which then would teach that the Judaism, which would teach that Noah had 3 children, the conversation starts at level B, because before we can talk about Noah having 3 children, we needed to talk about the ethnicity and the culture of Noah as the progenitor of the 3 tribes. Now, in Christian space, then they say Noah had 3 sons. The first son was Shem. The second son was Japheth. And the third son is Ham. And through the Hamites, then they want to say the Cushites, who are the Africans, come from Ham. Then the Asians and the Easterners come from Japheth. This includes the Indians. Then the white people come from Shem. Amazing. Indeed, this is amazing. Because the same white people who say that their history is not African history, when it comes to the Bible, they want to place themselves right in the midst of the Bible and consider themselves as part of an African history, which is the Noahic history. Having said that, then they go and say, since Shem is the father of the white people. See the mischief right there. Follow me very carefully. Many of you who are Christians, you have not seen it in this light, so I'll be patient in explaining. So since Noah gave birth to Shem, and Shem gave birth to Perez, and if Shem is a white man, according to that narrative, then it means that Perez is a white man. And if Perez is a white man, then it means that Abraham is a white man. And if Abraham is a white man, then it means that Isaac is white. Then it means that Jacob is white. The 12 sons of Jacob are white because they're children of Shem. And then the whole Egyptian slave narrative we find there, figurative or literal, becomes the colonization or the enslavement of white people by the Hyksos, who are the blacks, who are the Egyptians. And if the Israelites are white, then it means that Jesse is white. It also means that David is white. It means that Solomon is white. It also means that Joseph is white. Ultimately, Jesus comes out as white. I want us to show you something very critical. That when you misrepresent one fact in interpretation, how much domino effect do you have in the theological development? By the time the white people are drawing and are giving us a white man and they say this is Jesus, why do you have a problem with that? Because you've accepted a wrong notion at the beginning of the theological conversation, which actually states that white people are children of Shem. And by saying so, the white people are actually saying their history is bound together with our history here on the land of Africa. Now look at the difference. If I should come around and say Noah was a black man, then Adam is a black man. Methuselah is a black man. Shem is a black man. Japheth is a black man. Ham is a black man. Abraham becomes a black man. Isaac, black man. Perez, Jesse, David, Solomon. The rest of the story becomes a black story. And as such, when we begin to understand that this narrative we're discussing of an African text, which happens here in Africa, on the river Niles, on the plains of Africa, and it is shipped into Israel, where it becomes Judaism under the Torah, then moved from Judaism into the Catholic churches, where it becomes Romanism, gets into Ethiopia, where it becomes Orthodox, moves into Britain, where it becomes Anglicans and Reformation theology, moves into Germany under the Gutenbergs, where the Lutherans and etc. Martin Luther begins the Reformation there and the Lutheran Church. Then it is shipped over into America, where it becomes Gassolalia and Pentecostalism and charismatic churches. Then around 1901, 1902, when the gospel is coming back to Africa now as missionary gospel, you are looking at a translation of an African text into a Jewish text, into an Ethiopian text, into a Roman text, into a British text, quote unquote, because that's where the King James Version is coming from. Then from the King James Version, the translation of that by the Gutenbergs and the Martin Luther creates for us now the European missionary ideology, which moves into America, into Pentecostalism and charismatic movement, later on shipped back into Africa now as what they call Christianity. But right now, what they call Christianity has 37,000 churches. 37,000 churches standing strong. All of them are struggling with one devil, one Bible, and one Jesus. I'm focusing on the Christian space right now. So that ultimately, when you look at translation, it is not just a matter of reading the text. We do this so that as African children, we can stop pontificating and glorifying white theology, which relegates, which abuses, which insults black color, which insults black people, and imposes white people as superior to the black nation. And as such, you find that Christianity, when it is taught from that perspective, it always makes a white man a relative of Jesus. And it makes an African man a barbarian, it makes him a pagan, and it makes him a heathen. Whereas it is not so. The only time when the Bible actually speaks of the word heathens, it's actually speaking to the Romans, who were actually the Europeans, who crucified Yeshua in the New Testament. So how can we sit around and we glorify the reading of a text which oppresses us? When it says slaves, obey your masters. Well, it's nice to read that verse. Slaves, obey your masters. But it depends who is reading it. If I'm reading it as a black man, and the passage is saying slaves, obey your masters, who is my master? And if a white man is reading that, slaves, obey your masters, beat your slaves as long as you don't kill them, who is the master? So until we understand the environment, the system level, the very space in which the biblical text is given, we will end up as servants to the text when we must be masters and owners of the text. The white man does not have a totem. We have totems. They call him the lion.
Abusiafo, that's a great man. Abusiafo say me who jata wa waking. na wo hu so ye jata na emom onye akura onye adanko onye wo kraman a onye wo dwan a na mani agekora kwa abusuafo onto say ye mamu ene ye nwa mamu be sori ye hu so mu ye jata me njai kasa so what yase abusuafo se mote onto say obifuafo ye be hu ye hu say yen ena ye sa die bible no ne munyesam ni nyina na sese no ye ndwan aye nko a ye som no ye be hu say sa nsem ni nyina ye yenya no before we are not going anywhere. And until ye bre until we had to deal with the problems where you want sa a dear Bible any nyamsum kramosum sa religion abe divide yen say ama yet to home say no ye point each other. So what you say ni nyina so asha say nyina dan before efri yen me wi make a mechia a dear avan so mechia before efri yen so what you say ya say you confused ya dwene no mu no se ye kase ye di sa Bible no so a ya dwene mu no ye abrofo nanso so ye honam no ye dien ye friend is black ye slave Bible na wo di akire na kan tro so ye den wo ye slave but ye obibini di akire unto say ye be wake up na ya to sa book na twene ne ye hu ye yusu ya dwene no ye start ehu ye hu say sa ye nya adie onwan ne ye njata ye akese ye na echiwi a abusuafo sa nkrofo ya omo ka kire ye say ye no ye different na ye even emo akura ni nyansa chen ye no afo mbeba bekremu say ye nyina ye nipa baako because ye nyina ye nipa baako before ye nyina ye nipa baako obi nchen obi all that titimu ni sa kasesem ni ahenie ni all that ni nyina no sa ta no tete no before that's why ya dwene no na ewo nipa ese ye nyini etra sa de no na yehu yebu yehu so what you say na no before the ye west even ya busuan mu kura no obibini usha no so usha ni oya panyini no unyini kura na still on person obehu se wanyini still an wanyini na wo no bo bra na ohwe still an person otritu se akoda yentimum mani panyini entitem bia ye brenti no adekwa ye adie so ye mpanyimfo so omo wo dibia so obi ya ma obi position ya so change niema ya se wo na wo na anu ya na wo kura se na se onye na ono ani pa no so no hu ni hu so ye somebody so because of that o hu ni hu se ono no so no ye nyame na ese odi nipa oni na ekum na ono no ye ni yie no nta so ye ni yie ni nti no onim ti obese no ani ye de to ye mpanfo nyina ye ask kisses omo kisi abrofi as nti ye to ho ye bre na meka besi so yenya yesuban ne yeseso ne yeyi yempanfo ne yeyi omo until say ye be change no yempanfo no so change we have to deal with our own level ye wo problem yempanfo no say ne omo tie no saa ne yenso ye tie before adu bra as ye start here dey change ne yehu say ye somebody we be hu ne hu so somebody we be hu ne hu so ye nyame so what you say enunti no ye bre enti sese no problem ye woni say self doubt na we ye mu no yesu ye ne first mi ohia adie ye frɛ ne sen adie bronsam oso ne hwɛ ye no sa yesu tata no ni problem na woni say no ye self doubt no ohun ne hu say oye nyame ba enunti no bronsam be so ne hwɛ eno na sese ye wo mu before ye self ye hu say ye nso ye somebody ye hu say ye kase so what you say even dan omo sese no omo kire so omo so chen ye no ye kase dan omo anase ye ni omo nyina ye pe onto say ye hu saa no enu nti ye bre aduru say ye nyina ye sesa obibini mpa ne hwe tambie no folo nkrofo tambie obibini folo nkrofo da bi obibini the bible say ni nantwi teacher momi ahwe ade kum church ade na me point em bese momi make from kum church asem o kanu nyansasem bi anim but opeso o kire wo say bible akanti na eden eye na ntwitwitwa ohu ni say obi ne yonko sofo obi sese sofo no oyeye sa sofo no na no me so wo ba bia me fie wa o twia ye frɛ ni sen wo twia nsu a ewo ho a nsu bi wo ho a ebe wo twia no a opeso onya asase di esi na sondan kum chate say asof Ghana asofo ni nyina hu say wo gi omundwan nyina enwan no I don't know say banche hu no de mo wie no enso de nchine kakra fra enti na no kan kyene na wontumu nkɔ enti omu nyina eden adwa na kɔhye ho ɛna sɛ omu ani abere ɛno nti no omu de papa yanim ayɛ sɛ die na kum chacha nsɛm a wɔka ni nyina no bɛsɛ me kyerɛ wo sɛ asɔfo ni nyina de omu adwene na ɛyɛ den ebiti nipa wɔ Ghana ho obie ne ho anyame afrɛ no sɛ omu anu masɛm yehu obie ne ho anyame afrɛ no na nso so no ja Bible na chidie Bible say fato ho because omu kana eduru time bi omu su omu adwene obi bi ni wagimi a obi be yusu de ayeye ewiase no saa na tie akase ya che nketewa we moma ntie kum chacha asem we a all kan wo ha sei
panifo bi ne me akasa so atiase se panifo bi ne wo kasa wasem bi ho a na wa memfrema abam o memfrema bamu a na de ekwa na ekwa ena wutumi be kasa mo bi okay on say wo botan di amaking also waya more than 2 years and what different for papa no won maame no agena sale no ampia kofi no mensa wotabe no Reverend Isaac Owusu-Bempah no Bishop Selifu Amoakonom ena what destroy ekrofo bebre onwanu nyam so that say more than 2 years more than eboro eko 3-4 years and why yes it's you know menya bre at the amani this year what you see mecha what you see mecha hey yeah so for me no do I so charge what can when that's of say I will tell you so for when that's of say what you do I ain't do my I'm a friend now when you that be na so one cause I was so we jaya so for the what's no personally first day fake to say why so for we na me friend all friend now you why so for all friend now you when you are friend all friend no say come on why so for we na me you start here so na make man now you are so down straight forward me start here now you are evangelist okay you want wasakra on evangelist on to akra na wonya esebe kwateden de aduro ton aduro no so nya adwuma na wonam social media no bu nkrofo wo san nkrofo bu nkrofo pa eti wasa mama ne so time wasan nkrofo bebre papa no me no nyam o se o no nyam sa no ma fa ho no wo de ayeye no ma fa ho ebi na me ka manesi asemi sa kwa na ne sinnya se fok ne sinnya se fok awa na moa na ne wedi atete manes o kasa baako anunso kapo baako yeah oh eno edi ani ya ma no manes nie anunso nie manes nie entro nie manes nie anunso nie o kasa baako anunso nanum so bonchen boronsan oh on count kwa on count kwa dabi ebekana because the way of mo ye ne de ka me kwesa se se ye ne kwa ye Benyame mu ka tie ba ye nhwe mo ne ye ne so family mu mo san heaven wo cry ma na wo di out wa wa ye wo benya heaven wo no mo se wo be ba wo for ba bi tina why ayama it mo san you out wa wa ye wo be pay me abaye de o be de o ayama mo san ka do be kana nko aso fuduma na se mo mana ye bibi aso funa duma na ye ase competition tokwa bi ni e yi en tokwa ye mfra so fudi mu da Paul kura ne Barnabas enya problem Bible asiafo ne kura nya mo kan se on kanta mo kan se yeah misunderstand yes enya problem en tokwa en mfra so fudi mu da 2% na dan wo ma wona enya se na dan mai so fuku jaja me jiwe wa me kan ya me kan enti so wen fini pa na de ne besi man fi wa enche so nya me adwuma na me ya be me fi say man ko tu quotation ya cho Proverbs 26:4-5 bua kwasia ne na jimisem na wanye na ni susu ye nyansafo for ne se me muwa no enti na me ka do so obotan de wa jimi ya be 4 years me ya no afi na tamaso metre ne say social media any uradu ni ade no me minimum so che no ese Bible say obi hwa so manda ba kon so manda fa bona ada won dia monka dabi mo se obi ya de so bi bo so manda ba kon fa ma no o quotation me enje won de mo se mo quotation me quotation de minim ba me woni man ko wani Silence means amen. Oh, silence means consent. Silence means consent. Okay. Talk about to me,
Mama me fa kum chacha sia ne me se me kire nyina ne se o kum chacha afa de bible no oh bible no afa won se afa de no oyusu na dwene so what say osofo no okura bible no so oyusu na dwene na all the bible ne to at the same time no sane ye Joshua Mapongo kan ye no titiye mu abibifo titiye mu mum ye mfa nto ho bible no de ntitibu ba e ma ye nyusu ya dwene adwe ya dwena to bossum abibifo mu ye mfa nto ni nyina ye anibiro sa sofwe da bia ni fie oye innovation ho da bia ni fie osiesie ho because obamu obenya anka dan no kura anka soro no space na ba beka form no ho na anka watimi abamu dia ye na sori Ghana ho mra bia anya adwuma enti ba bia residential area ye ya sori ho ono ani fie no watan ni to asori esoro no wasi abrosan owura fie ho a bibia bi wo fie ho a woton dokuno die APC okode o everything e wo fie ho a woton owura ho a enti na sori ma no e na wodan no so nse bi muso da ho o soro ho no so bi wodan a bi muso dem untu owura ho a wonto ade bi a wabonten owura ho a everything e wo asori ho bibia bi wo ho time bi kro ye pe bi unya bibia otumo kofi ho kotobi so what you say before you so adwene no ya tena ho ama ye de nyame abe jimiya to the point the jan what is say me chia abe jimiya to jan kwadwo anim me de na de you kwadwo anim wa hia me ne wa ya de so what me da masene mo support no mo share me video time bia ma me mo ame ne mo share asie nyina kwadwo anim wo ka ho ne yuji tam to think before me chia obi ameda mu nyina ase mo am support akosu favor mu nyina so what I say before mo ma yenyusu adwene no so what I say yenyusu a ye bebre na last one ya me di twa to mo ma me yankofesa ade we say na ade yenhwe obibini ya before say mo ma me eduru se me ba mu na me large na ya sem ade we. So what you say? And I say so me my dear ha. Come on. Before say me bani ha enti me eda na ya say before mo hwa de we da we. So idea we say me nwa ba ma idea oba ada ntwike ana say idea Mike Odio yo say yo no ba no be chire ni mamu kakro be kana dwene hwe before ye yisu yatara so what you say we me nka ba bi efire because me anu me nyante ase ye Mike chire me mu kakra but idea start no mante ase ye nti aka mintum explain ada so no abeba na so be chire me bi obe chire ma ase ye hwe before yan ye to ho no ye mfa idea ye friend sen ubis me akura me sesi ya metwe ubisa me ba bia ye friend sen atinse mo mama nyimfiri so aja Ghana for enam nyamsum ntino omo be ka kire se Yesu maame wani kote ena wo ye ade a edi nipa ba wiase enso ye bodin a ye se an wa bodin ene ye modin enu ntino ye wo ye ma ye ntimu enkyere ye ma se ade we se ni se natie udru stage bia se natie upese wo ye na wo start ya boni bia ni udru age bia but protect ho wo de baba na se wo nya ready obebre ye ka ho asem nkire ye ma enu ntino se ye ma ade ye ma no omuni nhwe nti omunyiri dru stage bia ese ade body no ade ya ade ye ono anu wo yare kura na sometimes body na healing itself nti body no ono no oyo automatic dru stage bia se wo ya obeye so what ya se obeye asie obaya se afa ye behu anse nipa ne nyem ade ye te Ghana ho ye modin because Yesu ni omo som no ne maame anni bi no wo no Kristo ni te ho graduate ni wakọ school a oso oni made ni monyamfo wa ye ni tukuno te ho unya obechiro mu ama aka wano atum setie ni ono kan na gimisem na o kan to hold believe so ade we ewiase ya ho na ma wiase ya ho na ye wani oba ben no so wani kote ya obewo enu ntinu ye nka ho asem nti se picture mo amenyi mfiri ho because a Christopher nkro be ho kasa ade na wo kire we obibini boni bia ni se wo ba kire wo ba wo body ni body akwa ni nyina ba kire no se we uduru stage we ana obi a o ma won one won kasa ma won tiase se oni ni beye bibi na o so mu a enye wa wo pa eye wrong report no ni ade ade yenim enu ntino ema omu report matam bia omu ntumu kasa obetimi obi kura betimi kasa adie uko ni dem ko ye den so what ase because ye ntiase okọ wi dem ba ma obaba wi dem eno nkire se force no na ne na ana wo yira na se obi a de tambi on pese obeye saade na force no na ne na a rape but yenye den yenti ase so what you say ntino ma yi picture na fro but ne me pese me kan ba sa picture we ni say asa ade Valentine no abi before ye yesuatra Ghana ho too much say Valentine we e beba we no e ma bi mu omu ni omu kunu mu omu boyfriend mu bejai ana say ma bi mu omu bebu omu kunu mu animtie because of say Valentine no wa head anya ne special amano abi before enye ye dia tambia ye sori a ye fakosi buroni eniema a wakreti na ye deba e dia ba ye yaje ama ye ho ye tumu celebrate more than say ne kosi buroni be celebrate say no edru Valentine day ho na akọ ha omo she red atare eni omo a mfrawa akese a ye ton wo krom abi before ye yesuatra ye say yesuatra makosi buroni afa hye bia ye nim ba me ubisa me krom afa hye kura me nim obi kura na ka kire me say me krom afa hye me ka me so na ye shefa ubisa me say ye shefa na ye so ahemfo wo krom ho nyina na ye gu nsan na yakwa aba na all that stuff aya dia ye festival manipa nije but ubisa me ame me nimo me ame krom de me ne makohu ne enkanafo da omudi omo afa hye ana makohu ne kwafo kwa ta omudi omudi ana anfante minim enso so bisa me kwasi broni afa hye bia wo wiase ya meka kire mate sesese kura no ye say ye celebrate adie Thanksgiving e wo Ghana ho because mate say Black Friday wo ho sales wo ho but I say mate say ye celebrate Thanksgiving wo Ghana ho say Thanksgiving ye befa adie nkrofo we mu ba kurum ha say so what you say omo ba kurum ha say no omo a na omo ti omo asase so indigenous people na no omo ti asase ha even na black people wo ha but enam propaganda nti omo mpe black fo asemuti no omo paso omo trache say na black fo ni ha na black fo wo kurum ha nyina yakofo omo for Africa ne baaye yate ase but sa adie ni omo gitum indigenous people no omo gitum say Native Americans no omo gitum say omo ti ha no kun omo be kun omo ekun omo pam omo kum ni omo betimi akum nyina fa omo asase omo na namo baba ye no eno ho Thanksgiving eno omo celebrate enne obibini ti Ghana ho celebrate Thanksgiving ho mate sesese no ahya ase a ye celebrate ebi mo celebrate Thanksgiving ebe hakra no na aduru ho na ye ma ebe celebrate Thanksgiving so omo nti ase sa adie sa Valentine yasemi omo nti adie nipa nim kwaye fa so e baaye enso ye den ye celebrate wo Ghana ho before ye yesu atro enti until say ye be deal with our own devil no ye man ni nye ministers ni president ya wote so omo hu ni se onye no eye wo so what you say o duplicate no to ho no eye menem abisuafo until say ye be sisa ye be change no kuro no enye ye nya ni papa e ma ne medi so because ni obeba bia no so te sese na ye nsesa ya ye hu so ye be manako ansine hu se sa we no ye chen we ye hu da enti yen yesu bi nete ho no ade akufo ado wonya eyewa so what you say wo na atoma no akufo ado sese no ono so hu ne se ye nye na se wo bra oye wo no a ne ye ne nanamo no ade ye kwa menkonoma ne wo famo no ade ye kwa menkonoma punu a ye de ye no ade ye friend president kofo bi na no a otumo kansem bone fa kwa menkonoma ho ene enso so ono so ba ye hu ne obeye ye bia enso ye huaho no ye pagya no so o meye hwea wa meye hwea magana ene ade ye friend sen asante hini bie no no a ose kwa menkonoma anya ade akrachefo ewo Ghana ho akosuku ewo Ghana ho entimu hia history and learning history ni yaka buroni aka no mutie because buroni Emma yehu se Kwame Nkrumah nye because Broni ma yehu se ye oja Kwame Nkrumah ye bede ye hu ntumi nsisi ebiem o ma yehu se Kwame Nkrumah ye nti Broni akanfo akrachefo no up to now enim se Kwame Nkrumah nye den onye Magabi enye den Magabi enye den onye akasi fo no mo so digina ya yekum mu nyina no yehu o mo so mo nye den enye because yenya yenye den yenye onto se ye basisa unto see be deal with our own devils no before je nko baabia so what you say unto see be hu ni say sa bible ni religion ni nyina no the brain to control us ye nko baabia unto say ye be yusu yadwene enura ma die me kore bi wadwuma mu na ye kan abadwuma ye adwuma no sene a ko down ne ade a ye kan ho asem no no ka say ono no de Alanti onji Alanti oni mortgage na mso okay why say enito ala say mortgage nye na mso for what reason or say because oji a odi nipa na obema no ubetwa double times 3 ama nipa no enunti nipa na ayo slave na ala say ma enye obi a slave enti no enye na me say ekwan bi so common sense na slave na wo kan de ne ade mo nipa no so ya na so mo be ye African slave more first as na mo create Bible mo be ye nipa slave enti no eno de ye kan sa de a ene enye ala ne kan na we no common sense common sense wo sika but ye common sense so say so wo nya sika ni nyina so common sense obeje mortgage and so be rent because o rent a utwe sika no mo den utwiagu unya hwe but uto so dia ye ubetwia na die but uton wa unya osika watwie wo nyina back enti no common sense no ye better so beto than so be rent osi no ala say eboni ala unto see be yi sankramofo do mo go deep to the point to say odie ukoka kramo asema upeso ondwene o make common sense mo hwe kro obekun tamfo no unto see be yi sa agimisem ni nyina afiri ho na ya dwene yusu adwene no a make common sense eno ne beboaye until that before yenko baabia ye behu yen say ye one kramoni o Pentecost ni o obotan asorifu obotan sofo kum chacho obi before ye nyina ye one until say ye beto kwasi brodi book ama no na ye hu ye hu say ye one na ye hu say ye nyina ye pe one go obibini nipa bi o wiase bia pe one go say obed na so bedwo no na eniema ese obi adie nipadua no hia wo adie life mu asase so ha no obenya ye nyina na ye pa no onto se ye nyina ye be hu se we ni ye nyina ye pe enti ehu hia se me nko amenya na me de maso bedwume na mpempem obre onto that obi before ye nko ba bia so sabata we will deal with our own devil ye devil no we ye mu ye be deal with it na ye deal with we a na ye meet ye devil na ye deal with ye devil obi before ye hu beto yen onto that obi before ye nko ba bia enti ene na medi musi anu suatra no ya fa kosi broni niema broni aka gese ne broni anka yenhu se ye no before yenko ba bia adie wo celebrate bibia adekro na wo celebrate no bibini pehwe ansa yen before ye buade ye buye yere mu ye hwe ye maye ye hwe ye yere mu yie adie kura nkrofo we mu no mo bodama obetuma kuni yere kura asie ye do ye yire ye pe ye yire mu do ye yire mu hwe ye mma enu nti hwe ye busuafo enu nti no ye hia Mother's Day no wako show wa kire o maame se odo no wako to flower kire o maame se odo no na ye nkura no Ghana ho no o maame hia ntoma ehia baabi obeda hia aduane obedi nye flower so what you say enu nti no nya Mother's Day na akoto flower aba na wafre o maame kom de no na o tina ho na Mother's Day no wabefre ma I love you o maame hu hwe enti abi before ye responsible people momo yamfasa o mo celebration nya den ento ho na ni nyina no a waste of money we sisika Christmas ube waste sika ato niema ache nkrofo a mu nhia ade bo de beche obi a onhia ubeto ache no waste save sika na fa sika to before na ade eneba bia medi mu besie no edin we say no ese misua ansa na makane next time enu nti no ma odin wa wabaso ma ho ma odin am so fache me before so misrem mo ma yen start na ye deal with the devil ewo ye mu devil bi ewo mu bi deal with nipa bi ewo obra mu bia no so hu mo so mo nya eyewa eye wa so unipa ene wo ho no chisan ho o sesan ho a nipa e wo obere mu besesa o sesan ho wi a ne ya ontimo nsesa no obefiru life mu akọ so what you say na do ho na hu ni say ne ye beba bia no so what you say oye your friend is saying oye adie nyame to problem bia ewo ebeba wo life mu oye nyame to obia no ho betuma control obia no ho betuma yo hwe obia no ho betuma yo accept you wadwene no manenya adie straight dwene ne mapanko a ne enye bone bia anya ba wadwene ma dwene nse reverse obibini na hu ne se obetuma ye na ye de ko oba de ne nka obi hu bia ho abusuafo mechie obia ne support abusuafo Anthony Nketia mechie obia ne support abusuafo na me de mo se ha oba de ne nka obia mo bye na mon like na mon share mami why mo bye